Welcome to Clutching Our Pearls. We're going to edit that out. So I'm going to give my... Can you hear the asshole dog?
No.
That is. All right, so we're going to give it a cut. So welcome to Clutching Our Pearls. Today we are so incredibly excited to have a new guest, besides of course my adorable, completely bombastic co-host Susie Shattuck. We are joined by Steve Froisland. Steve spent 15 years with Microsoft, 10 of those being in HR analytics. In his time there, he was able to use data and analytics and apply his real-life experiences to impact true change. His unique ability to decode the numbers and bring them into strategy and action, not just data, fueled by his ability to move DEI into impact. Nope, that did not make sense.
Analysis into impact?
Yeah.
Execution, analysis and execution. Wait, can you say that again?
His unique ability to decode the numbers and bring them into strategy and action.
How about decode the story behind the numbers, or decode the numbers into a story, or something like that. Decode the numbers and make a story.
His unique ability to decode the numbers and create a story, not just data, fueled by his ability to move DEI into impact, has made his unique career a success. No.
Has made his unique career impactful, or to take out the first impact.
How about we just do and create a story, not just data and not just lip service.
God, you're so good at this.
Ready? Welcome to another edition of Clutching Our Pearls. This is a special episode for us, as we're going to tell you all about where we've come into phase 2 of Forward Revolution, and, of course, a little podcast that you've come to know and love. I'm joined by my bombastic co-host, the incredible Miss Susie Shattuck, and I am delighted to introduce you to a new part of our crew, Mr. Steve Froisland. Steve spent 15 years at Microsoft, 10 of those in HR analytics. I know, it sounds sexy. Let me get there. In his time there, he was able to use data and analytics and apply his real-life experiences to impact true change. His ability to decode the numbers and create a story turned into something that was more than the sum of its parts, not just data and not just lip service. As a young man, he was raised in 2 cultures, one Filipino and one American. He traveled the experience of a gay man and someone who became disabled as an adult. Becoming disabled is the only diversity group that you can join at any time in your life. Steve has lived through true diversity, starting his career with Microsoft as a temp and working his way up, with a keen understanding that if he had applied directly for the position, he would never have made it past the first round without a college degree. Steve has his finger on the pulse of diversity, the diversity recession, and the degree recession, and the tremendous amounts of bullshit still alive in corporate America. Mr. Froisland, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Marie, Susie. I'm so happy to be here. Very excited. Very excited. Thank you.
Now, am I to understand that the two of you have merely a professional relationship that started recently?
No, I believe the first thing I said to him when I was 14 was, "Hi, my name's Marie. What's your sign?" Which started my lifelong obsession with hitting on gay men.
Yes. I am very proud to be part of that club, Marie. Thank you.
You started the club, Boo Boo.
Yeah, and you know what? It was an English class. It was the first day of our sophomore year in English class. And
At the illustrious Las Vegas Academy of International Studies Performing and Visual Arts.
Yes, also known as LVA. Please ignore the music stand in the background that says LVA. It may or may not have been permanently borrowed 30 years ago. How long ago has it been now? We should not count.
I'm telling Meg.
It's okay. This won't end up on the internet. Oh, wait.
It's not a secret, but yeah, and actually Marie went on to say it's Marie and not Murray, as in Murray. And after that, we were theater kids. We were theater kids, but I called her Murray, and sometimes still do.
Yeah, I'm not sure how people confuse me for an older Jewish man, but I'll roll with it. As long as you're talking to me, I'm usually happy. So today's theme is incredibly exciting for me. For those of you that have been following us, you know that we have been on a long journey with our nonprofit Forward Revolution. It's been a long journey because if you've ever started a nonprofit, you know that it sucks and it's kind of bullshitty. And Susie has been the angel that has come to help facilitate that transition and to be our community manager. And we have come so far. And I'm, oh my God, shaking in my stilettos, excited to say that Steve Froisland is now one of our founding board members.
Very proud, very proud.
So I would like to raise a glass to the young man who captured my heart at 14 and still has it a mere 5 years later, and who has become one of the most incredible adult type humans that I have been blessed to know. I'm so thrilled to be on this journey with both of you. Cheers.
Here, here, cheers.
Clink sound effect.
Clink.
Clink, clink, clink.
Oh, by the way, you are inevitably going to see an animal behind me in my lap on a couch.
Like that way?
Yes, that is Bender. He's the love of my life. They're all the love of my life. So you're not supposed to have a favorite. Okay, yeah. I am obsessed with animals. They have, I have 2 cats and a dog, and the 3 of them have created this triangle of that lifts my sanity up to a plane of virtual happiness.
So it takes 3 animals for you to be able to deal with actual humans.
Thank you. Yes.
Have you met humans? I mean,
they're rough. They're rough.
Yeah. They can be. There's also some extremely awesome humans out there, which I wish would get a lot more attention than the ones who are not the best.
And that's what we're here for. So we have so much to dig into today. Not only do we want all of our revolutionaries to know more about Steve, we want to share some of the changes that have been happening. And guys, I know it sounds boring. Like, this is not a board meeting. You are not here to take minutes and do bullshit, because you know that's not how we roll in the first place. But I want to dig in to some of the juiciness that we have in store for you. Susie, why don't you kick us off?
yeah, I want to know from Steve, first of all, I'm so excited and happy that you're here, but why did you say yes? And what are your hopes? What do you want to make with us?
That is a fantastic question. I said yes because I believe I believe in the vision. I believe in your vision, Susie. I believe in Marie's vision, and I think that some of my personal experiences in life can help move this, or hopefully will help move this vision forward. Um, and I think I'm pretty confident. I want to be confident that some of my contributions will start this journey off and keep it going and just make it a success as we go along.
Tell me what of your professional experience that you're bringing in. Like I know that you've got some skill sets that Marie and I do not have, or we have in a small business kind of way that maybe isn't the vantage point we need.
Absolutely. That is a great question. As Marie mentioned, I don't have a degree. In fact, I'll be very honest. Not a lot of people know this about me, but I didn't even graduate high school. There were some circumstances, family circumstances, that forced me to get into the workforce immediately. Back in those days, minimum wage was $4.75 an hour, but I didn't really have a choice. I had to go to work, and I had to support me. I had to support my family, and I didn't get my GED until I was 27 years old. And so I knew that, striving to make more than, or having this mission of making more than $4.25 an hour would require me to make some big leap of faith that I didn't really know I had until I didn't really know I possessed until I actually went for it. My first big career, other than being in the hotel industry, was moving here to Seattle in 2004, and I wanted to work for Microsoft. I knew that Microsoft was the place that I wanted to work for, maybe retire from, and I had to get in. And I learned of contracting and temporary roles, and I thought to myself, that's the way to do it. I think this is how I'm going to get myself in without having these sophisticated degrees that's required. And I also started in a entry level administrative role. And from there, I surrounded myself. I did get a temporary job. It was supposed to be for about 3 months. And I said to myself, I'm going to find the smartest people I can find. I'm going to learn as much as I can learn in that 3 months. So that's what I did. I ventured out and I searched for the smartest colleagues, coworkers. I tried to understand as much as I could. And that 3 months turned into 15 years. About 2 years after, I got hired on as what we call an FTE, or a blue badge, which means he's my baby. This is my baby Bender, in case y'all forgot. I became a blue badge, which just means the color of my badge changed colors from orange to blue, and
like a red shirt,
something like that. Yeah. And from there, I just stuck with it with my strategy of continuing to surround myself with really smart people and continuing to take advantage of the education, the continued learning, the classes and training that Microsoft had to offer. If I didn't, because I didn't go to college, I can very proudly say that I did, in fact, get one of the best educations. Looking back now, I did get one of the best educations, and it was real life education from Microsoft.
Yeah, I often say that I got my MBA on the streets, because you're going to pay for that education one way or another.
Yes. Yeah.
But I tend to find that those that went out and did the thing actually have much more depth of knowledge, more applicable talents and skills, and just have a little bit more grit and chutzpah, which
and
is
phlegm.
That's how you say chutzpah. But it's so critical, because we live in a world where we look around and we look at the other generations and say, well, you're not doing enough, you're not trying hard enough. but we've given them the message of, if you just do what we tell you to do and go to the school that we tell you to go to, then everything's going to be easier. And that's not the truth.
But who gets that advice? It's usually people who aren't first generation college students. It's do what I did. That implies a whole generational structure that's working out really well for them.
Well,
like he got his GED. I was kicked out of school, got my chest beat to get into, at 16 and became an emancipated minor. For when people have these weird ass life paths, like you're just in a whole different lane, and you gotta figure it out. And if you're not scrappy as fuck, you got problems,
Yeah. And I think it's incredibly unique that, you've got the people that have the generational experience of college education, but you also have an entire society, especially in the manufacturing industry and in the skilled trades industry, where they fought for their kids to go to college because they were told that the reason they didn't get everything they wanted in life was because they didn't have a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of that diversity and degree recession that we're seeing, that those that are making the decisions are the ones that got to have an experience of generational education or wealth. And we've dismissed anybody that wasn't funded appropriately at the age of 16, 17, 18. Susie has gone back to school, or gone to when did you start your college education?
When I was 40. And I graduated from Davis in 2020, and next month I start law school. But the reason that the reason that I did that was because I couldn't do what I wanted to do in the world without that law degree. And so I'm like, oh, guess I'm going to go get that now. So
was there any trepidation about like being of that beautifully seasoned age and having been a business owner and having been successful and an entrepreneur and writing your own script, to going back into a system?
I didn't go back into a system, really. I went into a system for the first time because of my cult upbringing. I was always raised weird. And so when I got kicked out of school, it was out of my pretend church school. And then I got emancipated and then started the business because I didn't fit. It was hard to be, a baby dyke in corporate IT in the 90s. It was really hard. And, but one of the things that, when I look back at it was really hard and I got through it and all this stuff. And then I realized, a couple of years ago that the thing that really helped me get through was my white privilege. And I'm like, crap, it's like, and that's one of the reasons why I very much want to do what I can to try to even that playing field. When I got, I blogged about the sexism and homophobia and how that helped me think about the professional certification program, the scholarship program that we have. So what, I had the ability to go into debt. I had that capacity to buy the training on my own dime to recover professionally. And so one of the things that I want to do is not have that be, I'm thankful I had it, but also I want to remove that barrier,
Yeah. And that's so critical. That's so critical. And not only being able to remove that barrier of being able to afford the certification, but even being able to afford the time. If you've got children, if you've got dollars to replace from a job that you're not at for that 3 hours or whatever it is. There are so many obstacles that I think we knew were there when we started Forward Revolution. But as we went through our first year and truly started to listen to the revolutionaries, of which we have had 1,500 revolutionaries come through in our first year. That was a lot. We learned a lot. We're sorry for some things and we're really excited for some other things. But getting that understanding that education almost doesn't count unless it comes with a certification, unless you can show a piece of paper to someone, or you've got the work experience and the stamp of approval of some human that is above you in stature or societal perception. You stay in the same pool.
Mhm.
And that is a bullshit kiddie pool that has been sitting on the lawn for like 8 months. It's growing its own eco life, and there's no way out. And that's why Forward Revolution is here. So,
I have a
Steve,
question for Steve. Is that cool?
yeah, yeah.
So, you know, I told a little bit about my past and how that's helping inform our vision and our mission. Are there stories or things from your past professionally or academically that, like, it's a structural problem that helps motivate you to work with us?
Yeah, and you know, it goes back to what Marie has mentioned. Um, so you know, great. I'm in a good position now where very few people with a GED education can get to. Um, so what I have in the companies that I have worked for, what I have come to understand is, without any type of certification or without any kind of, I could bust my ass and work and exceed expectations in my reviews, but I will never get to a certain position. I'll probably never qualify for a director level position, regardless of what kind of knowledge that I have in my head. I mean, if I'm qualified to be in a director position because of my knowledge and because of my past and my experiences, there are I still have this barrier of entry, and that's this no college degree. So in the past, I've come to accept that I probably won't go any further in my career than being an individual contributor, or you know, middle management, and I probably won't get into senior management because even if you are working for that same company, they still, you know, a degree will still get you further. And I want to start challenging that. And I want to see, I just want to set this realistic expectation, whether I can reach it or not. I want others to be able to. And I just want to set this realistic expectation to the world and to corporations and to massive companies that, you know, you got to go back to start looking at people for their potential. And there are, but that, you know, back in the old days, I would say that maybe the early aughts, it was always about potential. People would hire you for your potential. They saw the good in you. They knew that you had the capacity to work. They would be willing to mentor you, and you would excel in a position. But now that, you know, we've gotten into the times that we're in now, many hiring managers and many people managers feel that really the only way to demonstrate how smart you are beyond what you've currently contributed to your job is what you've done in the past, or what kind of education you've had in the past. And the higher your education level, the further you're going to get, the more money you're going to make. But that's going to be less of a reality going forward, because there is a record-breaking number of people who are refusing to go to college now, and are wanting to go to trade school, wanting to go to business for themselves without the education. Particularly people of color. You know, people of color have been are some of them, I would say most, are born at a disadvantage. You know, like me, where I was raised in East Las Vegas, in the middle of the Mexican ghetto, or I'm sorry, the Hispanic ghetto. And it was it was really tough. And me, my family, my neighbors were great. You know, we were all great people. We were all very smart. but we really didn't have the money to even think about paying for college. We were in a position where we couldn't contribute 100% to school, to our schoolwork, because we had so much going on, behind the scenes in our family life, that we were C students, or sometimes D plus students. And there were also situations where I had a disorder as a teenager, but our benefits weren't great enough to where I was able to go to a hospital or to a doctor and get this disorder treated. Because if I would have been able to do that, I would have been able to just get myself up in the morning, and just get motivated to go to school every day. But unfortunately, I had this crazy disorder where I just literally could not wake up in the morning. And so I was always truant in school. I made it to school, but it was usually like 11, 12 o'clock. And it wasn't, but that wasn't good enough. Would we have known that? Would we had the resources to take me and my brothers and sisters to a physician regularly, get our disorders treated? Maybe I would have done better in school. Maybe I would have excelled, and a scholarship would have been an option.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, it doesn't work. It didn't work out that way. And when you start out with a disadvantage and raised with a disadvantage, you just have to work even harder to get what to get what you really feel you deserve, that others get.
Yeah.
Sometimes
as a default.
As a default, yeah.
Yeah. And Steve, I think you and I most likely had a very similar journey, where I don't know if most people know this, but I started working at least by the age of 12, starting with cleaning homes with my mom and babysitting and working in the cafeteria during lunch. And by the time I was in high school, I always had a full part-time when I was 14, 15, and full-time when I was 16 job, that I would be so tired coming home at night that I was hallucinating driving. And we went to a school that required you to go for 3 additional hours a day,
Yes.
plus rehearsal, and still balance it. And I don't think I ever looked at that time in my life and thought, my God, I was so exhausted. Of course my grades fell when I was a senior. I just looked at it as I couldn't work hard enough. And by the time I was 20, I had worked myself so hard, going from a telemarketing job that I would start at 7:30 and work until 3:30 selling annuities, and then go across the street and from 3:30 until 10:30 sell timeshares, and try to go to community college full time. I was like Britney Spears, laid out in the hospital, exhausted, done. And it never registered to me as stress. I had blisters all over my hands and my feet from stress eczema.
It's like, why can't I get it together? If I only this, then it would be positive result. If only
Yes.
I had.
Yeah, I got diagnosed with high blood pressure when I was 18, because of all the stress, all the work, just trying to keep myself afloat, keep my family afloat, making sure my dad was okay, because he wasn't doing so well when I was in high school. He was diagnosed with emphysema, and he was a single father taking care of 4 kids. And not only that, he was a senior citizen.
Oh my God.
He was in his 60s raising us. So there just came a point where I just thought, somebody needs to start taking care of my dad. Fortunately, my sister was in that same mindset as well, my younger sister, and she stepped up to the plate, and I helped as much as I could.
And I think all of us coming from these backgrounds kind of culminates in I'll be damned if another generation goes by and we don't start fixing things.
Yes.
And I think that brings us together so beautifully, that we do have such varying backgrounds. We do have such a passion for evening the playing field and even fucking tearing the playing field up to create something new. Because we went to a theater school. We didn't use the football field, but for pep rallies when we had a show coming. I think that's where they played hacky sack, if I'm correct.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah.
the field. Let's build something beautiful and new. In the 5 years that you were with, or I'm sorry, the 10 years that you were in the HR position with Microsoft, when you were looking at these patterns of data and creating these stories, what were you seeing that either pissed you off or drove you to create change?
Retention. That really pissed me off. We and this is definitely not a problem exclusive to Microsoft. It's a problem. It's a problem that many corporations have. Is hiring. They many people or many corporations will make this commitment to hire diverse candidates, and they would meet their goals or they would come very, very close to their goals. But less than a year later, many of these diverse candidates, they would quit. So why, we spent so much time, so much efforts on job boards, on reaching out and in diversity channels, and hire a fantastic diverse candidate, and they quit. Why did this happen? And so there are many companies out there who really focus on hiring diverse candidates. But when it comes to retention, they'll look at their attrition reports and they'll see, oh, we have a lot of attrition. We have a lot of people of color in the Hispanic and Black and African American community demographics that are leaving in less than a year. Why is this happening? And the answer, there's a lot of answers, but what I've come to understand and what I've come to learn is basically what I'm living. It doesn't necessarily, you can hire somebody of color, and you can't expect them to just go out there and work, because you have to think about what their background is. Maybe you hire a great candidate, but there's still some continued education that they need, but they're too ashamed to tell you, or they're too shy to say, hey, you know what? You hired me for this position. I know I can do it, but there are other aspects to this job that I need help in. Someone like me would have not brought that up at all, because it would have made me seem weak. So you really need to look and examine your demographics and understand, as a manager, what the needs are of everybody, of all your employees, and just make sure that they have the confidence to express themselves, to be themselves, and to let you know that they should not, they shouldn't have any types of fear when they need help. But
Wait a minute. You mean the resource groups that they put together and then don't fix that?
No, not always. It's great. It's great that they're there, that these resource groups, I mean, it's a good step. And the spirit is nice, but it's not always the answer.
It's the lip service. It's what we saw when we saw social unrest, and millions and millions of dollars were promised to be allocated.
Yeah.
And what was it, like less than 3 to 5% actually were doled out?
Right.
Yeah, it's the bullshittery.
I think when you're the only kind of some kind of person, when I was the only known queer person in our department, when I was the only person that was out about their mental illness, anytime I need accommodation or help or something, I'm afraid it'll get attributed to that characteristic of mine, because, when you're a minority, a lot of times you represent everybody of your kind and, are treated like a monolith. And so it's like, it's really hard to ask for those things, to ask for help, or to even see that help is available because it never has been before.
Right.
It's like,
And
there's
that
reasons for that
one
now.
of the things that we are going to change hard. And it's
Yeah.
it's so funny because just before this, I was calling to schedule my mammogram. And of course, I got to chatting with Regina, who was on the phone with me. And it literally went from like, she's like, how's your day? It's good. She's like, I didn't really feel like coming to work today. I said, I know, my daughter didn't feel like going to school. She woke up and said, Mom, this feels like a stay-at-home day. And I was like, get your ass up. And she said, I put my baby in daycare when I go to school. Well, what are you going to school for? I want to be a nail tech. Hey, listen, I owned a medical spa. I understand that industry. And we have a nonprofit that is there specifically to help people get some of the concepts, get some of the skills that they need to dictate their own course in life.
Absolutely.
And it took her a solid 3 minutes to believe what I was telling her. And then she asked me quietly, is it okay if I tell my friends? And that was such a polarizing moment for me. We know that it's taken a lot for us to gain the trust of those that are in the revolution, really, because they can't believe that there's an organization out there that is truly focused on providing them the things that they need to create the life that they want, not what we see for them, not the path that they were dictated by birth or socioeconomic status or ability, but a path that is just for them, and they get to call the shots. And to me, that's what's so exciting about the revolution, is the revolution is about putting power into people's hands without expectation, with no other agenda, but go make the world better.
I think that was one of the biggest and hardest moments of our path so far, because we were providing these classes, and by we, I mean you, Marie, had purchased this program. We, I'm very generous with Marie's money. We created these programs, and they were like, and we were like, if you gain the skills, you'll have this. And they're like, oh, I need something I can put on my resume, not just that I know more stuff, because I can't take that to the bank. It's like, I need, and that's when we were like, oh, equity, ownership, got it. Because from our small business background, it's like, oh, I need the skill, I get the skill, I do the thing. And but that's not necessarily the best thing for everybody.
Right.
And so I'm glad that we were able to pivot on that.
Just have this need to put something on your resume that will capture the attention of a hiring manager or a recruiter. Because sometimes the body of the description of the work that you've done in the past is just not enough. Some recruiters, some hiring managers just skip down to the right down to the education certification section.
And I'm sorry, but how many dumbasses do we know with a degree? Like, oh my God.
Really? Myself, I'm so confused.
How is this a quantification of anything except for you survived alcohol poisoning to get a degree? Mazel.
Yeah.
Mazel. So,
oh my goodness.
Susie, I want to talk a little bit about you.
I love me. Go ahead.
I love you too. There has been some tremendous badassery that has been happening with the fabulous Ms. Shattuck. Not only has she relocated to Chicago, which pleases me to no end because now she's my neighbor, but she's starting her education at Kent Law, and life is going to change a little bit.
Yeah.
Susan, tell us a little bit about the changes that are coming up for you, besides dealing with winter bullshit for 8 months.
I'm sure Chicago winters are just like the California Bay Area winters. Will be fine. A light misting every once in a while. That's cool.
That's what I heard too.
I'm majoring in denial. No, so I start classes next month, and I'm excited and I'm terrified, and I think it's going to be okay. But I'm finally going to be working towards my ultimate goal of, helping people who, like me, have suffered religious abuse and trauma to get some kind of healing or justice, and that those go together, and figure out more ways to hold the perpetrators accountable. That's what I want to do, because I was, raised in such a weird and alienating way. This connects to the revolution, actually, because I was thinking the other day about like how much trauma I've had to heal from to be okay, and how I've had to learn from and about that trauma in order to figure it out. And then I thought, not just about me, but like different people who have their different trauma, whether it's, personal, whether it's sexual, gender based, racial based, all of this. It's like we all have to spend so much time in this society healing from the systemic bullshit. And it's like, if we could, re-engineer in a way to break down those barriers, what could we create in this world if we weren't so busy trying to like tread water and fix this system and fix that system, And so I want to participate in the fixing shit, just like I have here. I'm always connected to the revolution. I'm always, around in some capacity. It is going to change, but I'm here for it, And so I know what I want to do and what I want to accomplish with law school. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to use law to do that. I'm very open-minded about that. And so that's going to be a lot of my journey. But to me, it's the same mission, it's the same values, and it's the same goal.
Well, and I think that's so aligned with being a revolutionary, because it's not anybody else's job to dictate what you do with it. If you want to go and start something new and fresh and wonderful, we're here for it. If you want to come into a organization that's already established where you can make impact, we're here for it. We're going to help. And if you want to just spend time putting your efforts into micro projects or consulting, we're here for that too. You deserve to design a life that serves you. And when we can start focusing on a life-work balance as opposed to a work-life balance, we're going to start breaking the systemic norms that have put us in this position in the first place, where we had to walk into all of those rooms and prove ourselves to get some job that we would inevitably end up resenting at some point, because no career takes into account that you have a family and a life that might be more important, because they know that you need this in order to make that work. And I'm fucking tired of it. And I ain't even played that game.
Well, tell me, Marie, with what you've learned with me transitioning out, with, Steve coming in, paint me your new vision. What does it look like? Paint me a picture with your face.
I'd like to hear that too.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right, here we go.
Spotlight.
Center stage, please.
So as we are going through transition with Forward Revolution and getting our 501c3 and really pushing through with some new sponsors and partners, this is going to be a place for people of every walk of life to use as a touchstone, to use as a launch pad, and to bring their collective brilliance to. As we create this ecosystem of Forward Revolution, which very strategically needs to rely not only on the revolutionaries that we serve and helping them upskill and reskill and giving opportunities to those coming from food service and retail to add skill sets to their repertoire that give them more options than just freaking Uber and Uber.
Yes.
We want these people to come in and not only be fed spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and socially. And we've got resources built in for all of that because, y'all, nobody came out of the pandemic not a little fucked up. I promise.
Thank
There's
you.
a part that got weird. Let's talk about it. But to create a space where when we see an opportunity to take a stab at a corporation that has touted their diversity and not maintained it, and use the revolution to make sure that it's not a room full of old white guys again, which, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something specific. When we started working from home, the people that kept showing up are the people that have been showing up since the 1950s and 60s because they like to go to the office. So they're still in the office making decisions while you're enjoying your flex time. That is why we lost 40 years. 40 years in pay equality and progress. I am not going to pull any punches about it. We took our eye off the ball and we lost. As we go into this new season of society and structure, you all know that I am going to burn shit to the ground. So not only are we rolling out scholarships and sponsorships to help people reskill and immediately apply that to a practicum or a client project, so they are pumping out portfolio pieces, but we've got partners that are there to help us place freelancers in specific, giving Forward Revolution and our revolutionaries premier spots in their programs so that they are the first ones that get reviewed. We have partners that are coming in that are donating educations that will not only give you tools and resources and ability, but visibility. And that visibility is so important because I am no longer willing to sit in a society where there are portions that are invisible because they chose to care for their families, or they chose, what a choice it is, to make sure that their people survived, or that they didn't go back into an abusive system simply because they didn't have the skill set that was prescribed by somebody before the world's changed. So my vision, it's mostly disco balls and dancing, but my vision is that we have this inertia, this energy, like a locomotion just building and building and build it on itself. And yes, I can hear the locomotion song in my head. I'm sure most of you can too. But that just moves us into a space where we are no longer reliant on a broken patriarchy to provide us the things that we need to take care of what is important to us, whether that is the work that we do, the people that we care for, or the money that we make that is no longer allowed to be dictated by someone else. That is where the revolution is going.
I take quick issue with what you said about we took our eye off the ball, because I think that there's just so many balls, Marie. Like
there are a lot of balls.
Like, say, single moms got more balls thrown at them, people intersectional, maybe my word choice is bad, but like with intersectional identities, and so I think what we need to do is redistribute the balls, Because if, you know, one kind of person is getting 10 thrown at them and the other person only has to manage one, you know, it's not fair.
Right. And, you know, to that point too, sometimes these balls are created for no reason. So let's try to eliminate some balls, except for the good ones.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think one of the balls that gets unfairly tossed around is just the weight of in the feminist movement. We made strides, right? Or strides. We moved forward. We started to close the pay inequality gap. But every time there's an experience where someone walks out of the room not supporting a woman who is asking for that raise, or not saying, excuse me, she's still speaking, that rolls the progression backwards. And so when I talk about taking our eye off the ball, that's really what I'm talking about, is those of us that are in positions where we can make impact. And because we don't speak up for one another, because we don't ask for the raise that we know we deserve, in small increments, we move ourselves backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that had been happening in small increments for years. And then the pandemic hit, and boom, balls everywhere. Okay, I'm done talking about balls. Somebody get us off the topic.
Thank you for joining us this week at Clutching Our Pearls. Welcome, Steve. Thank you,
Thank
Marie.
you. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Let's make some shit.
I cannot say enough about what is coming for those of us in the revolution, those that want to join the revolution. Check the show notes. We don't care where you come from, what your dream is. We will make sure that you have the resources you need, as much as we can provide, to no longer be alone in your journey. There are enough of us in this world that have been through a huge variety of life experiences. And so when you've convinced yourself that you're alone, when you feel like there isn't a path for you, know that there are people like Steve and Susie and Murray that are there fighting for you, even when you can't fight yourself. I am so blessed to be joined by these incredible founding members as we move into phase 2 of the revolution. We are going to change the world. For those of you that know me a little bit, you know that I do not back down easily. I am 5 feet of fury, and I will make some shit happen. And with these incredible people by my side, and your support, and the support of companies who are done with lip service and ready to make a change, we are going to be the change that we want to see in this world. Susie, thank you for all of the love that you have poured into this organization, and for letting me talk you out of going on Fiverr and doing this instead. Steve, thank you for loving me for a lifetime.
Absolutely.
For going through your journey with the ability to still keep an open heart about it. None of us have walked a path that was filled with rose petals. But what we have done is decided that if there is going to be a change, we are going to be the facilitators. We are going to be the crusaders. And we will be the ones that say the uncomfortable things and talk about balls for 20 minutes. Please tune in for the next episode of Clutching Our Pearls. check the show notes. There are so many amazing things coming. You need to be part of the revolution.